Welcome to the Puma Bass channel. Today, we're going to react to a cover performed by Hinata from the group XG. She performed the piece Complicated by Avril Lavigne. This show was part of the European tour. I don't remember exactly which country it was. The song Complicated is about a teenage girl complaining about her boyfriend, his personality, which she finds a bit complicated and sometimes frustrating. So let's see here how Hinata delivers to us the idea of this song and her interpretation from a technical perspective.
That's the way it is. It's life's like this. That's the way it is. Chill out, what you yelling for? Lay back, it's all been done before. And if you could only let it be, you would see I like you the way you are. When we're driving in your car and you're talking.
Here, she's using the famous nasopharyngeal technique. She's placing her voice in the middle range without nasalizing, which is very important. She's also opening up a lot of resonance. As I mentioned in another video, she theoretically has a voice slightly closer to the East Asian standard, particularly Japanese and Korean singers. Their voices tend to be a bit sharper and more nasalized, like this. But she manages to step away completely from that configuration and project her voice. Here we can notice that the backing vocals are more prominent. Her microphone volume isn't very high. Evidently, the backing vocals are her recorded voice. But we can tell that her voice has a fuller quality, and we notice this in other performances as well. Let's keep watching.
One-on-one, but you become somebody else. When everyone else, you're watching your back, and you can't relax. You're trying to be cool, you look like a fool to me. Tell me why you have to go to make things so complicated. I see that when you're acting like you're somebody else, get to be frustrated. And life's like this, you fall and you throw and you break
Okay.
and you take what you get and you turn.
It was a small leap she made, but she chose not to fully switch to a head voice. I think she's still in a chest voice, or, in reality, a mixed voice, between chest and head. She's also opening up a bit laterally, possibly using a belting technique, which makes it easier for her to project her voice and hit the high notes effortlessly. Here, she's not doing any major interpretations. The song doesn't demand much. Even Avril, in the original version, doesn't work much in the higher range. I really like the tone of Hinata's voice. I dare say she might be a mix. If we compare her to Chiza and Joria, she would be a mix of both, but I still think her tone is fuller than Chiza's. It's not as high-pitched as Chiza's, but her range is similarly high. Chiza's voice is quite expansive, though. Joria's voice is medium to low, while Chiza's voice can reach a much broader range, both high and low. Hinata's voice leans more toward the high range, from what I've noticed in other tour performances. In the pieces she performs, she often relies a bit more on playback vocals for the lower ranges, so her voice tends to sit in a mid to high range, though I wouldn't say exclusively high, but I find her voice fuller, more robust. It's not as bright and metallic as Joria's, but also not as bright as Chiza's. It's a voice you can notice, with more roundness, more projection, more forward placement. It's a tone I personally enjoy, more among the three in some aspects.
Dressed up like you're something else. Where you are and where it's at. You see, you're making me laugh out when you strike it.
Here we notice a slight difference between the playback vocals and her live voice. Some subtle micro differences.
When you become somebody else, when everyone else, you're watching your back, like you can't relax. You're trying to be cool, you look like a fool to me.
And she's always using her voice in this pharyngeal nasal placement, especially when she hits the high notes. She tends to fall into that typical East Asian style, where the voice is placed more in the nose, but she pulls out of it. It tends to go there, but she opens up. It's very interesting, but I still feel like she could use more techniques to enhance her interpretation.
What you get and you turn it into honesty. You promise me you're never gonna find your fake it. No.
Avril, in this chorus, switches to a palate placement. It's a head voice transitioning to falsetto, though I think it's mostly head voice, and she places it in the palate when moving to the high notes, so she differentiates the registers she's using. Hinata didn't choose to do that here.
Watching out for, lay back, it's all down the door. And if you could only let it be, you would see somebody else.
Now her voice is coming more forward. She's loosened up a bit more. It stands out more from the backing vocals. She always stays in a mix, a belting voice, mixed with head voice. For her, it seems more comfortable, bringing a bit more brightness, and pulling away from the nasal tone. She effectively transitions away from where her natural resonance might usually sit. I really enjoy her tone, and perhaps even prefer it to Chiz's and Juria's tones. But as I've mentioned in other videos, her vocal technique is still developing. All 7 members are, of course, and likely will be until they reach their 30s. Hinata, however, has specific areas to work on, and I think it's less about vocal technique and more about temperament, a psychological matter. She seems to be a bit more introverted than the others, as seen in interviews and video interactions. This, in some way, affects her performance and translates into her music. Additionally, it influences her stage presence, how she presents herself to the audience. So, she opted for a safe performance here. Throughout this tour, the pieces she chose to perform were also somewhat simpler in terms of technique. Of course, one can always add depth and complexity to a simple melody to enrich it further. But there are certain challenges imposed by the song's structure. In her case, she chose simpler songs and maintained simplicity in her interpretation to deliver a secure performance and meet the standards expected from XG, a level of work above average, delivering beautifully without mistakes or flaws. Here, we see her voice receding slightly compared to the backing vocals. Sometimes her voice comes forward more, but only occasionally. So her performance is a bit more restrained compared to Juria's and Chiza's. But evidently, as we've seen, for instance, in performances on the It's Live channel or others, she's more comfortable executing complex pieces without an audience. And alongside Juria and Chiza, she also grows. It's noticeable that, when all three perform together, she feels more at ease, more relaxed. Performing solo, with an audience this size, time and again, is something you get used to over time, but it's truly a very difficult task. Especially for someone introverted, it's a significant psychological pressure. So, having the option of instrumental backing helps a lot, or being surrounded by others also makes a big difference. These factors contribute greatly. But clearly, over time, she overcome this. The group has only been on this journey for 2 years, but they've already completed an international tour, which is already a tremendous amount of experience. With time, she truly become more confident. And she's already doing very well. Right? So, that's what I had to say about Hinata. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like below and write your comment. Let me know any suggestions for pieces I could react to next, and subscribe to the channel to watch more videos like this. Okay, see you next time.